everyone. Today we will continue our session in the practical guidance for the construction of a blueprint assessment. In the last session, we talked about the curricular blueprint designing, and today our objective is to design a master blueprint. Types of blueprint, only as a reminder, they are the curricular content, which we talked about it last time. Today we'll talk about master blueprint, and in next session we will talk about the test blueprint. Stages to construct effective master blueprint, they are 5 stages, and we will talk about each stage in detail. Let us start with the first stage. It's about determining the learning objective to be assessed within the curriculum. If you remember, we have mentioned before the curricular content can be learning objectives or topics, and we choose at this session to talk about the learning objectives. First, you will list down your learning objective. In a course such as Assessment Blueprinting, this is my learning objective. Define a blueprint. Define blueprint's benefit. Discuss Bloom's taxonomy level. Describe stages of construction of blueprint. And design a master blueprint. Our second step is to determine the teaching method and instructional time. In the second 2 columns, you will write your instructional method and time. If it's theoretical, for example, if it's lectures, flipped classroom, or group discussion session. Or if it's practical, like practical or clinical training or field training. The second, what you will measure is the instructional time. And in the next slide, we can see how we can measure the instructional time. Instructional time can be measured as follows. 1 hour lecture is equal to 1 unit teaching session. But if you have 2 hours of practical session or group sessions or flip the classroom, then it's equal to 1 unit. 3 hours of clinical training is equal to 1 unit teaching session. And finally, 4 hours field training is equal also to 1 unit teaching session. Based on this, you can determine the teaching unit for each objective, either if it's theoretical or practical. In the next step, you will determine the impact and the frequency of each objective. Okay, let us see how we can calculate the impact and frequency. Impact of the learning objective is determined differently if it's a basic science or clinical medicine in case of the medical schools. Grading of impact of curricular content for basic science, less important objectives will take 1 point. And if the objective is important to the clinical sciences, then it will take 2 points. And very important objectives for the clinical medicine will take 3 points. What about if you are grading the impact of the curricular for clinical medicine? Then the grading will be as follows. If the topic or the objective is not urgent, then it will take 1 point. If a serious issue can be developed in this topic or learning objective, then it will take 2 points, and life-threatening topics will take 3 points. Same as well applied for the frequency. The frequency of learning objective is determined differently if it's a basic science or clinical medicine. Grading of a frequency of curricular content for the basic science will be depend on if the objective or topic rarely applied in a clinical practice, then it will take 1 point. Commonly applied in a clinical practice, 2 points, and frequently applied in a clinical practice will take 3 points. Grading of a frequency of curricular content for clinical medicine. If the disease or the topic or this objective is rarely seen, then it will take 1 point. Relatively common will take 2 points, and very common topics will take 3 points. Now we will go back to our table and list the impact and frequency of each learning objective. Here we wrote the teaching units, and the second column is about the impact, third column about the frequency. And it's very important to note that impact and frequency calculation decision need the expert's opinion. Our fourth step is to identify the major cognitive domains. To identify the major cognitive domains, we need to go back to Bloom's taxonomy. Low cognitive domains, it's like understanding and remembering, and the high cognitive domain are in the top of the pyramid, like apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. And if you look here, you will find the verbs related to each level in the Bloom's taxonomy. Here in the cognitive level, we will determine if this objective is low cognitive or high cognitive. If you notice here, we both define, discuss, describe are low cognitive domains, while design they are high cognitive domains. Going back to the Bloom's, you can see here, define, discuss, describe, they are under remembering and understanding level, while designing, appraising, differentiating, execution are under the high cognitive, like apply, analyze, evaluate, create. Because of that design, we put it like a high cognitive domain. The final step in building your master blueprint is to address the suitable assessment tool for each learning objective. We'll go back again to our constructed table, and we will just write if it will be assessed through written theoretical exams or through practical exams. And if you can notice here, we put the first 3 objectives for a written assessment, and the last was for a practical assessment. And this is matching and aligning the instructional method. Always be sure to align your assessment with the instructional method with your learning objective. And by this, we reach to the end of our session today about designing a master blueprint. Continue with us to learn how to design your test blueprint. Thank you.